look. A bomber. A United States bomber from World War II. Must have been sitting there on this desert for almost 20 years.
Washington hasn't released the names of the crew as yet. I understand how you feel. I imagine the list will be in the paper tomorrow. You're welcome.
Her son was missing in action?
20 years ago, somewhere in Europe. She and a half a dozen others just like her have already called this morning. Maybe one of the dead boys in that desert is her dead boy.
Mr. Granger, here are the names of the crew from the Luscious Lois.
Anybody local?
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio? That's not so far. Story like that, plane almost intact from 19 years ago. Mark, if there's no local angle, how about letting me go to Cleveland?
That costs money, kiddo.
I'd pay my own fare.
Hold it, Tiger. Here's something local. Bering, Christopher, Captain. Next of kin, unlisted. Address 356 West 34th Street, New York City. No next of kin but that address. What does that address mean to me? Check this out, Nick.
356 West 34th, Captain Bering.
Boy, get me Miss Hogan in Washington.
Washington? We want Miss Hogan in Washington.
I want the phone number for a local address, please. 356 West 34th Street.
Mr. Granger, Miss Hogan on 3.
Hello, Lizzie.
Hi, Mark.
Have you seen the Luscious Lois stuff on the AP wire?
Yeah, I just came in.
They'll be swarming all over Washington, Lizzie. People from all the papers, all the wire services, trying to get a lead from the Defense Department about who Luscious Lois might have been and where she is now. But you were smarter than all the rest, Lizzie, dear. So you should be able to run down Luscious Lois before anybody else does.
I probably have a few friends left in the Pentagon, in spite of that last piece I wrote on the missile lag. I'll find your Luscious Lois for you.
I wonder if she's still luscious.
Goodbye, Mark.
356 West 34th Street is a YMCA. I better go down there and check it out. And don't worry, I'll take the subway and pay my own fare.
Just wait a minute. I can see you're not looking forward to a trip to the Y, so I'll send somebody else.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I have another little trip planned for you. And if you insist on going at your own expense, I don't think the publisher will mind.
Oh, where are you sending me, Staten Island?
No, Africa.
Africa?
Mm-hmm. The Air Force is sending a Graves registration team over to the Luscious Lois. They're taking reporters along. Here, you call the military air transport, and they'll give you all the details.
Hey, what do you suppose the Air Force charges for a round trip to the Sahara?
Said anything about a round trip?
How did you track me down here, Miss Hogan?
I have some friends at the Pentagon, General.
Well, apparently I don't. Or they'd know this isn't something I want the press crawling all over. Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Hogan. It's true that I commanded that bomber squadron during the war, and I did know the girl, the one they named the plane after. But I don't want to tell you anything about her, Miss Hogan. After all these years, why should her life be upset with newspaper stories?
It will be. Somebody will find her, whether you give me the story or not.
Well, I hope not.
General, it's too big a story. It titillates everybody.
Not me, Miss Hogan. Nothing about those years in the desert titillates me. It only saddens me. For the boys in that plane who were dead, for all the other boys I knew who were dead, for all their unfulfilled dreams, and for that girl. Miss Hogan, you think of stories, I think of letters. The hundreds of letters I censored. I knew that girl from those letters like I knew the others. I want to protect them, Miss Hogan. I want to protect the boys, the girls, the dreams. Leave them alone. Leave her alone.
I couldn't if I wanted to. And neither could any of the other reporters. And they're not all from papers like the Bulletin. They're not all persons who have a sense of responsibility about their work.
Do you have?
I'll be kind to her. As kind as I can. And the next person might not be. Luscious Lois. 19 years later, girl into woman. Why, a reporter who feels mean or malicious or unhappy could have a field day with that.
Well, her maiden name was Lois Graham. She lived in Dothan, Alabama. I heard about a year or so ago from my former adjutant that she had married a government geologist.
You mean here? Working out of Interior? Anything else?
She has a daughter almost grown, but...
Thank you, General. You've given me a very big head start.
Miss Hogan, he loved her very much. Whatever the years have done to Lois, remember Chris Baring. Be kind to his dreams.
City room. Miss Nisbet on 2.
Thanks, Charlie. This is Fairfax Nisbet. Dallas? Why should I call Dallas?
Christopher Baring lived at the Y on 34th Street from November 22nd, 1940 to December 8, 1941. No prior address, no forwarding address.
Except the Sahara Desert, huh?
Yeah.
It's an FYI from the wire services. The Air Force is arranging for a reporter's pool over there in Africa. One reporter will cover for all the rest.
Who?
Must be on the next take.
How much you want to bet Nick figures out a way somehow to be the one?
I don't bet on sure things. Oh, read it, Tommy.
For your information, more. The Graves registration team will leave base headquarters at 8:30 a.m. Greenwich time. The pool correspondent selected is Nick Alexander of the New York Bulletin.
Thank you, Polly.
Sergeant, take your men, circle the area, and look around.
You know, I'll bet these K rations are still edible.
That's a stinking desert for you. Looks like they walked away an hour ago.
You think we'll find any of them?
I don't know. Let's take a look inside the plane. No sign of them. Looks like they must have stuck around here for a while and then split up to find help. But where would they head in this kind of heat? They're out there somewhere. Whatever's left of them.
I can see the way they were charting the last flight. I guess they were forced down here.
Look. Here she is.
Chris, darling, nobody can ever take away the happiness we've already had. And the future. All the wonderful years to come belongs to you and your Lois. Future. Some future they had.
Yeah.
Here's a plane's log. Pilot, Captain Christopher Baring. Bombardier, First Lieutenant Louis Capozzi. Crew Chief, Staff Sergeant Albert Bloom. Observer, Second Lieutenant George Spencer. The captain started to keep a log right after they were forced down. Here's the first entry. Forced landing, fuel tanks ruptured, radio inoperative, crew okay. Baring. After 2 days, crew split up.
What is it? Lois, dearest. It's getting me, the sun. I'm writing dearest in the plane's log. Will somebody court-martial me? Ha ha. Lois, I love you. They're walking north by northwest.
Sergeant! Head north by northwest.
Lois, I won't die. How can I die? But we found in those 5 days, remember, Lois? We found life. Remember what you told me? Loving like that is a miracle. I wrote you a letter. I'll keep with me. Lois, Lois, dear God, I'm thirsty. I'm so thirsty.
Look, Lizzie, at last count, we had exactly 50,908 employees in the Department of Interior.
That's bureaucracy for you.
And you want me to tear this whole place apart just to find out if one of our geologists has a wife from the South named Lois.
And a grown-up daughter.
Lizzie, I work 7 days a week, 14 hours a day. And I don't take graft. And for this, I get exactly $1 a year. And I think I earn it.
You earn it, and you're efficient. And now you're going to prove it by miraculously producing Lois's husband's name.
Yes? Just a minute. Pencil. All right. Okay, thank you. It seems the name is Hawley, George Hawley. He and Mrs. Hawley, Luscious Lois to you, seem to live across the bridge in Alexandria.
You are efficient.
And now can the Department of Interior get back to concerning itself with mines, conservation, public parks, Indian affairs, and the whims of the president?
Be my guest. Mrs. Hawley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lois Hawley?
Yes, and who are you?
I'm a reporter from the New York Bulletin.
Oh, George. I just knew some reporter would find us.
That's right, and there'll be more.
Luscious Lois. Honey,